When I was young, I dreamed of a free Judaea. I dreamed that we could live without oppression, without fear. I dreamed of walking down the street without looking over my shoulder, of hearing steps behind me and not speeding up, not afraid of soldiers, their rules, their power. I dreamed of earning money to feed my family and not the emperor. I dreamed of following rules made by our own people to serve our own God. And as I grew up, I learnt I wasn't the only one who dreamed of freedom, that I wasn't the only one who wanted to fight. And I joined the fight because I didn't want my children to fear the streets of their own hometown. But then I met a man just like me, and entirely something else. He talked about a kingdom with God as king, a kingdom where love, not force, reigned. A kingdom from God, for God, in God, of God. And I listened, and I followed. This was something new, a truth without compromise, a love without fear. I was drawn in. For years, I followed him, learned from him, served him, loved him. He was my world, my all. Anywhere he went, I'd go. His people were my people. His God was my God. His life was my life. For years, I watched and waited. I hoped. This love that conquers all, perhaps it could conquer Rome. This truth that sets us free, perhaps it could free us from the tyrant. This bread that comes from heaven, surely it could feed our poor. And yet the poor remained, and Caesar hardly blinked. This Saviour who could end a storm, this God on earth and love in flesh, healed lepers, fed crowds, broke rules. But Rome remained. Armour still glinted on street corners. Helmets still bobbed through market squares. Taxes still rolled west and left us poor. And when he started talking about his death, as if death could save us from anything, as if humiliation could be a victory, as if Rome was not our biggest threat, then I cried. I had lost too much to this struggle. My family, my home, my country. And here he was, my hope, my God, giving up, accepting death would come without a fight. He who lives wins, not he who dies. And what's a fight without a leader? As I listened, I felt the hope drain from my body. I was betrayed. This man was not a saviour. He was no Messiah. If he wouldn't save us from Rome, then what would he save us from? I gave him my all. He gave me false hope. I watched my dreams crash against the rocks of his predictions. I watched my hope drown in the shoals of his betrayal. so I left. I didn't want to turn him in, but he wasn't going to do anything. And the money could be used. It could feed people. It could buy weapons. It could mean freedom. They feel like poor excuses now. But I was angry, lost, at sea, desperate. So I told them where to find him. I told them when he'd be there. I walked right up to him. I kissed him, condemned him with a sign of love, a greeting of affection to send him to the grave. I knew what would happen, and I did it anyway. And the look in his eyes as I walked up to him that night, I realised too late that he was right about love. That love could triumph even over my betrayal. I looked into his eyes and I saw a forgiveness that I did not deserve, could not accept. Before I had even said sorry, his love was bigger than my anger. And then they took him away. And I was left in that garden with nothing but a pouch of silver. I had traded my leader, my God, my friend, for nothing but a few coins. I have sent him to his grave, and I can't bring him back. But I can follow him. One last time. One final journey.